Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening and happy Mardi Gras, everyone. Welcome to Primetime Sports. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and as you can see, we're all in the carnival spirit. It is on its way. It's only a week away, and we are getting ready for all the parades this week. And by the way, speaking of Mardi Gras, it was Mardi Gras for the Philadelphia Eagles because now we're down to 12, just 12 teams that have not won a Super Bowl. With the Philadelphia Eagles winning their first ever, there's only a dozen left who haven't won, and guess what? The Atlanta Falcons are still one of them. So they are in that dirty dozen. By the way, Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, and he became only the second quarterback from the state of Texas, the great big state of Texas, Drew Brees being the other one. They both happen to go to the same high school, Westlake High in Austin, but that made me think. Louisiana quarterbacks, off the top of my head, they've won at least 9 of them. That's right, Terry Bradshaw from Shreveport, he won 4 with the Steelers. Doug Williams had one of the most impressive Super Bowls ever. He's from Zachary. He won one for the Washington Redskins. And, of course, the 2 New Orleans guys, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, both won 2 Super Bowls, so that's 9. Hey, there's several others that started. David Woodley, Stan Humphries are some of those. So congrats to all those Louisiana quarterbacks getting it done. 20% of Super Bowl victories. Hey, by the way, the Pelicans are only 1-4 since Boogie Cousins went down, but Dell Demps is doing everything he possibly can. He did not get Greg Monroe, but he did pull in Chicago Bulls sharpshooting power forward Nico Mirotic. The guy can shoot the 3. He's a stretch 4. And he also brought in some much-needed beef. Former Hornet Emeka Okafor is back in the Crescent City. As for college hoops, I've got to talk about the UL Raging Cajuns. Those guys are killing it over there. Bob Marlin's team, led by 2 studs, Frank Bartley and Jaquan Grant. Well, they are 20-3 and 10-0 in the Sun Belt Conference. What an incredible season in Lafayette. LSU, Tulane, and UNO hoops all split their games last week. And Nichols, we had Coach Ricky Riley, he beat the Privateers to move back into first place in the Southland. Hey, don't forget, National Signing Day is tomorrow. We'll have a full recap next week with Cody Worsham from Tiger Rag. And by the way, today's show, I can't wait. We've got Travis Jewett, the Tulane baseball head coach, and Blake Dean, the former LSU star, the head coach of the UNO Privateers. And Fletcher Mackel is going to talk all about the Pelicans, the Saints, and a little bit about the Super Bowl as well. Coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody.
My baby love me just like a watching chain. She wind me up and she run me down again. My baby love me, child, she love me. She love me like a watching chain, watching chain.
Well, welcome back to Primetime Sports. That, of course, is Mardi Gras Mambo. We're only a week away, and I cannot wait. This is the week where it all heats up. Parades get going tomorrow night and all through the weekend, and, of course, wraps up on Fat Tuesday, next Tuesday. And we will, by the way, have a show next Tuesday for you, so stay tuned for that. For my first guest, I told you we're getting into baseball right now. Everybody's talking about basketball, and the Super Bowl just ended, but college baseball is heating up. And right here locally, we have the Tulane Green Wave UNO Privateers. We're going to have their 2 coaches, but we're going to start with Tulane right now. Travis Jewett took over last year, 4 years as Vandy. They won a national championship. He was a hitting coach, recruiting coordinator. And I got to tell you, this man's been coaching a long time. Washington State, Arizona State, Vanderbilt, and now Tulane. He's only the 5th coach in the last 50 years to be the head coach of Tulane Green Wave. 2 of those guys, Rick Jones and Joe Brokoff, they seem to be there for about 40 of those. But here he is in his 2nd year. Welcome back to the show, my man, Travis Jewett. You're looking great, my man. Look at you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
And I know I feel bad playing the Mardi Gras music for you because you have to be laser focused this time of year. You don't really get to enjoy it like the rest of us in New Orleans.
No, I'd probably hear more about it than I actually partake in it, but I know I've talked to my wife, and if we can find some time, I'd certainly like to put my eyes on it because I know what a big deal it is.
Yeah, so. Just get a glimpse because I know you got to get back to work, and I know it's hard. But going into this year, I mean, listen, last year you took over a team. You didn't know many of the players beforehand. What's the difference from year 1 to now going into year 2?
Well, I'd just say probably comfort, experience, anytime you can put your feet into that environment, being really a head coach for the first time, you just try to learn from all the things that happened. And, we don't talk about losing. We either win or learn, and we have to do that from what happened last year. And, got a lot of new players last year, as you said, because they were new, I was new combination, and we've done the same thing really this year. So that part of it hopefully will help us going forward in terms of just kind of our chemistry. Which I think will help.
We just showed a shot of you when you got the job, and that was like the tail end of Tulane hiring a bunch of new coaches. And I'm sure y'all all feel like y'all are a bit of a family. They had the volleyball coach come in, and obviously you had Willie Fritz, the football coach. There's a list of them. Mike Dunleavy Sr. had some great improvement this year, as did the football team. And now you. What is it like with this whole new group of guys now that y'all been here for a couple of years?
Well, I can't speak for them, but I hope they're excited about their opportunity to coach at Tulane as I am. I think Troy, maybe excluding myself, but has gone out and hired a bunch of great guys to lead these major
yourself.
Okay, well, thank you.
We're
trying to be humble here on the air, as you know. But
no need to be humble.
They're all great guys, and as you made mention, their programs are improving dramatically. It's fun to watch them. It's fun to follow them. We hope we can certainly fit into that same mold.
Yeah, I know Troy Dannon speaks highly of you. I mean, I've heard him a lot publicly, but I've also talked to him privately. He loves what you're doing. I have to say, you're losing a lot of guys from last year's team. We have a picture of the senior day from last year. Lex Kaplan, obviously the player of the year. Hunter Williams, that's a 357 average, a 4.0 every semester. But besides that, he was a great baseball player on the field. What's it like trying to replace players like that?
Gulp. No, but it's a challenge, but it's college athletics, and whether it's the draft or graduation, rosters do turn over, and that one just happened to be a large contingent of upperclassmen, and the fact that they all played, they all played significant innings, pitched significant innings, so we've got a lot of at-bats and appearances on the mound to replace just because they were some of our best players last year, and so they played. So what we did was through recruiting, when you lose a lot, that means you have to go out and get a lot, and
no doubt.
That's what we did, and brought in 21 new players, and half of those probably is a junior college / grad transfer because, as you know, when you're losing a lot, if you try to insert too many high school players, it could probably take you a little bit longer than maybe you want. So we've gone out and tried to kind of split the difference there and get some experience as well as some youth.
We talked a little bit about this last year, but one of the reasons I know Tulane was really high on hiring you, because baseball, you almost have to be like a mathematician, a puzzle maker, trying to fit in, scholarships and partial scholarships because you don't get the full allotment like, you might in basketball and football.
Correct.
But, how does that work for the layman fan out there? Because I know Vanderbilt, obviously it was a private school like Tulane is, and I know that was attractive to them because you helped try to fit the pieces in. Y'all won a national championship there. There you are with the great Augie Garrido, the former manager or coach for the Texas Longhorns. But talk about the challenges at a place like Tulane as opposed to maybe another school.
Well, obviously you have two of them, and they're high academic entry standards, and then the cost is not free. So those are two things. But, like I tell our staff, we're not going to feel sorry about it.
Right.
I mean, we're not going to apologize to people about it. We have a world-class education, and we've got a great baseball program that has tradition. We've got facilities. We've got weather. Our league is, depending on what RPI thing you look at, we're third or fourth rated RPI conference in the country. So we can get a world-class education. We can play world-class baseball. And we can do all the things that we want to do.
That's a good spiel. I like it.
Yeah, and you think about it, you mentioned Troy, and I'm grateful for him a great deal. I love his leadership. I was probably finalized at the end of last July, and our signing period was November 9th, I believe. So that's really 3 full months, and we were able to go out and bring in 21 players. And this place has things that people are interested in. We just got to find the right combinations.
Well, Coach, your schedule, I got to get to that. It's daunting. As a guy that knows a little bit about college baseball and loves college baseball, I'm looking at it. Even the team that you kick off with, Wright State, that's coming in. By the way, that's next Friday. By the way, the 16th, it opens up. At Greer Field at Turchin Stadium, but that's Wright State, and they just seem to go to the tournament every year. Then you go on at Ole Miss. I don't want to scare you a little bit because I'm going to throw some of this out there. You got some great teams coming in. Cal State Fullerton, by the way, seems to go to Omaha every year, and they were there again last year. They're coming to New Orleans to play. And then, of course, you got your midweek games where sometimes you feel like you get a breather. By the way, Southeastern's great. UNO's great. LSU's great, Southern Miss is great, all these teams that are local. So you've got a task ahead of you. By the way, one of the most improved teams in the country, Purdue, is sandwiched in there as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. I do, and we obviously knew that this was going to be a challenging schedule, and we inherited a little bit of it from before, but I like to keep it, and we just kind of added to it. I like what it does for the fans. I think it brings their excitement to maybe a different level. I like what it does for our kids in terms of keeping them razor focused in their preparation and the readiness to play good competition like that. So,
do you remember that quote that was just up there?
Share it with me again.
Share one time. We haven't counted the days to get here, and we don't want to count the days to get to the first game. We want to make sure we're winning the moment.
Yeah, and you've heard it before, right? It's all about now, and if we do that, then we're going to lose a lot of in between, and when you have that schedule that you referred, you better make sure you're not missing out on the in between. And if we're looking to February 16th, that doesn't include today and tomorrow and all the days in between. So we got some improvement to do. I do like the direction of the club for sure. I like how the new guys have inserted themselves in the clubhouse and on the field. I like how the returners have welcomed them. They've led by example, showed good leadership. So I like the chemistry of our bunch. And then I think we've certainly just added depth around the field, which, as you know, competition from within is a vital component to success. So we think we have the pieces to challenge this type of schedule. Again, like I said, I like what it does for the fans. I like what it does for the kids. And then I like what it does for our RPI abilities in terms of, playing good people who win a lot of games. Then your RPI is going to go up. Your strength of schedule is high. And then you don't have to win every single one of them to potentially be an NCAA participant and even a regional host, which we'd love to do right here at
How great would that be? I know with that schedule, at least one thing, if you get some wins, that RPI shoots straight up. I got to talk about some of the players. Grant Witherspoon is the one that jumps off the page. He's played a lot of right field last year, some DH. I know he's going to get a chance in center field. Talk about how special this young man is, because he is going to be one of the keys to your team.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, we're going into this season with him kind of being the centerpiece, so to speak. We're going to, without making it too public here, we're going to play him in center field and hit him in the 3-hole. I mean, I think everybody on our team knows that. And so we're going to kind of build our lineup around him, and our expectation is that he's going to, do well. And it's been fun to watch. He's gotten better from last year, which is that's the thing that you want your kids, your returners, to do. So we've seen improvement in him. We've seen a lot of improvement in the Chase Zaleskis, Keegan Gillis, Kobe Owens, some of those freshmen that are now sophomores, and that's what it's all about. The kids just continue to move their game forward, and if we can get enough good kids that continue to move their game forward, that means we're going to be better, and then hopefully we can get some W's on the board.
Well, let's go there, because you mentioned the 6'8" Keegan Gillis. Obviously, he's going to be counted on probably in that rotation. He's a Brother Martin guy, another Catholic League guy, Caleb Roper. I imagine he's going to be somebody you rely on. Talk about these two Catholic League pitchers that you have.
Well, they're good guys to start off with. We love having them around. Roper's awesome. He's got some Division I experience. He started at the University of Arizona, had an arm injury, went to San Jack. He pitched in the national championship game at junior college last year, so he does have some college experience, although not a ton of Division I. I do like his heartbeat. I trust his skills. I love the way he works. His investment is off the chart. So I think he's going to get everything that he deserves, which is to pitch well.
Right.
Keegan has probably, from the mound, made the most improvement of any pitcher on our staff.
Wow.
Makes my heart sing a little bit because, freshmen are freshmen, and you see the biggest growth in a lot of these guys when they leave for the summer and come back for the fall. They can breathe now, and they get stronger, and they've had some experiences in the past, and he's certainly built on those. And he led our team in ERA this fall. Pitched well. He's throwing the ball hard.
Nice.
He's throwing the ball downhill.
6'8", too, daunting on the mound.
So 6'8" and downhill, it's a good combination, because you can slice some bats up that way. So the breaking ball's tighter. His believability is different. His confidence. He looks like he's having fun out there, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do this year.
Got to ask you about Ross Massey because he's well known among the Tulane faithful. 10 wins as a freshman All-American. Last year he had some pitching problems. Where is he now in his progress?
He's back.
He's back!
If you've heard that one before, but gives me chills talking just about the kid every time. When everybody says his name, I just let everybody know, first and foremost, he's one of my favorite kids I've ever coached. He's into the team. He had a rough season. There's no doubt about it. He didn't give in, give up, cower down. He just attacked, some issues that he's had, and he's being rewarded for it now. He had a good summer, went out, and just has moved himself forward on a daily basis. And you should see him right now. He's throwing the ball with conviction. All three pitches, he's just in control, and I like everything about him. And my expectation is that the fans that, as you referred to the 2 years ago, they're going to see that guy again, and that'll help our team, no doubt.
Any other pitchers we need to keep our eyes on?
Well, we talked about some of them.
Chase Zaleski,
Roper, Gillis, obviously.
Ben White.
Yeah, Ross Massey. Ben White is a guy that we like, a little bit of an over-the-top right-hander. He's a grad transfer from Holy Cross.
Okay, yeah. Those are nice. They got experience,
They really are experienced, and he's thrown the ball well this fall and early spring. And then two other guys that we're thinking about maybe jumping in the rotation be a Chase Zaleski again, just like Keegan, now a sophomore. Pitched significant innings for us last year, has certainly improved. And then Trent Johnson, another junior college transfer.
What about hitters that you need to rely on? I know you got one of my favorite names in baseball, Sal Gazzo.
Yeah.
He's a shortstop. Who else is out there?
Well, you got Spoon and you got Sal. And Sal's a good piece because he's a switch hitter too. So, we can try to turn him around and get the breaking balls going to his barrel, nice. Which is obviously a good thing. And then Matt Rowland, is an experienced senior. He's played well. I really like the way he's gone about his fall and spring. So you're going to see him in there. Ty Johnson is a junior college transfer.
Catcher,
started off at Washington State. Yeah. Athletic catcher. We've cross-trained him a lot. We've played him in left field, right field, catcher. He's very athletic. He was a heck of a high school basketball player. I mean, he can just kind of do it all. He plays a game with great spirit and energy. So those are some of the guys. And then, the Cody Hosey last year, him and Sal split some time, and he filled in for Hope quite admirably when Hope went down for his injury last year. So be another guy that we're kind of anticipating. So.
Cannot wait for Tulane baseball. Cannot wait for local baseball. UNO, Tulane, all the great teams. By the way, this is a gift certificate from a place right down the street from where your school is. Yeah. No excuse not to go. Right there. Check it out. Shays de la Shays. Want to thank you. By the way, what's it been like after being here for over a year in New Orleans? What'd you take with your family?
Love it. Yeah, we really enjoy the community. Tulane itself, all the people that I work with every day, the people that we've met, a lot of the supporters of the baseball program. It's been awesome, and we're excited to be here. And, just every day, just trying to make sure that we're doing what we need to do so that we can remain in that environment.
This man's enthusiasm is contagious. To be around him is to love him. I appreciate getting to know you, Travis, and thank you once again for coming on the show.
I appreciate you a great deal.
Travis Jewett, Tulane baseball. Hey, later in the show, we're going to have Blake Dean. That's right, the former LSU superstar, now in his third year at UNO. He's coming up. But coming up next, we're going to talk some Pels, some Saints, and all the local stuff going on right here with all the other sports as well. And we're going to have Fletcher Mackel from WDSU Channel 6 coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
The owners of the Delachey's Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachey, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachey, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Another Mardi Gras song. I love it. Mardi Gras is just a week away. I cannot wait. The action gets going big tomorrow night. Parade's going up and down St. Charles for the rest of the time for the next week. And a guy that knows that well because he is a New Orleanian himself. There's a lot of sportscasters that go around the country, but he is a guy that's local, stayed local for the most part, and is here, and he is a Catholic League guy himself. And we have a bunch of baseball coaches today.
I know, it's good stuff.
A lot of people might not remember that you played baseball collegially for the Loyola Wolfpack, correct?
That's true. First for Joe Sherman at Delgado, and then
phenomenal program.
Yeah, great coach and great guy. And then at Loyola, I know Travis Jewett and Blake Dean are here. I would love to have played at UNO or Tulane, but some of our abilities were just not quite.
College baseball is college baseball, baby, in my opinion. By the way, if you play for Joe Sherman, I got to give him a prop. The Dolphins are one of the most respected JUCOs in the entire country.
Without question. He's built a true dynasty there.
Yeah.
Following on the footsteps of his father, Rag Sherman, and what he's done there. So kudos to Joe Sherman. I will say this. I did pitch against LSU in 1996. If you look it up.
Oh, my goodness.
It was one of the worst. For LSU, one of the greatest. They beat us 22-2 that night.
Kind of gorilla ball, too, Aaron.
That was at the gorilla ball. The height of gorilla ball. When, literally, guys just had to get it in the air for it to go out. And I thought that was going to be the most humiliating performance. But then in the regionals that year, LSU beat Georgia Tech to go to the World Series 32-6 or something like that.
Felt better.
It just made me feel so much better.
It's not just me, people.
Right. I thought the 22 I gave up was horrific. And then Georgia Tech, this great program, comes in there, and their pitching staff.
32.
Oh,
I was doing Georgia Tech games there. They were good.
They were.
Yeah, that's in the mid-'90s. I certainly was doing ACC baseball on a regular basis. Hey, let's talk basketball right now. We got a lot of baseball going on, but the Pelicans, oh, my goodness. It's just so reminiscent of what's been happening since Chris Paul left here. You had the 7 out of 8 games just a week and a half ago. They're rolling. They beat the Rockets, the team with the second best record in the NBA, and you think, this is great. And then with 14 seconds left in the game, the air just got left out of everybody with Boogie Cousins' injury.
Yeah, 1-4 since Cousins went down. They really seem to have figured out how to play with those two bigs. The guy I feel bad for is Alvin Gentry, and it's hard to feel bad for people in professional sports. They get into this industry knowing it's high stakes. It's big risk, big reward, and they get a lot of money to do it. But think about this. Alvin Gentry came here. The team he came to coach was injured and had malcontents like Eric Gordon. So they pivoted. They went to Davis and Buddy Hield, that blue-collar, I think it was blue-collar hungry or blue-collar desperate is what Alvin Gentry called it. Then they pivot again to Cousins and Davis, do it big. Now that Cousins is out, Gentry has to pivot again. So in the course of like a year and a half, he's had to reinvent this team 4 different times. And look, I think they may make it into the playoffs, but without Cousins and Davis together, they are going to be a sacrificial lamb to Golden State or to Houston. And Anthony Davis as an army of one is great to watch, but they just don't have enough. Even with a guy like Mirotic, I just don't know if they have enough to beat anybody.
Yeah, Nico Mirotic came on Saturday. He played against Minnesota after they had the surprising win, in my opinion. They were shorthanded against Oklahoma City. They got that victory. He had a pretty good game, 18 points. He looked good. Looked a little bit out of sorts yesterday. He missed his first couple jumpers. He's a 3-point stretch for, let's be honest. He did show me a couple inside moves, but do you think there's enough time to get him situated with this team? I mean, it's not like fantasy basketball where you just throw these guys together. It does take a little chemistry.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It reminds me of when Ryan Anderson was here. I really think that they'd be better served playing Mirotic as a small forward. And I know that they're going to give up a ton defensively playing.
They already do.
Right, but 133 points last night.
Come on.
It can't hurt anything.
Right.
But here's the thing. When they had Ryan Anderson here, I always felt like it was an awkward fit because he plays the same position as the best player in franchise history, Anthony Davis.
Sure. In
playing those guys together, I know that you struggle defensively, and that's what happened with the Pelicans. When Mirotic and Davis were out there, they struggled with the length of Gobert in favors in teams that play strong defense. So I think that was a factor in Mirotic struggling against the Jazz. But I really think they'd be better served to try to move Davis back to his natural position, slide Mirotic down to small forward where he can play, even if he's not a perfect fit, and try, whether it's Okafor, whether it's Diallo. I don't know what you do with that center position, but Davis doesn't want to play there, and he struggles with those bears like Gasol in Gobert, and he really struggled against Randolph last week. So put him back where he should play, slide Mirotic back to small forward, and I know it's not perfect, but it's not perfect right now, so why not just try something different?
Speaking of Dell, I got to give him credit for some things here because he takes a lot of heat, and some of it's rightfully so, obviously. But when he needs to make a trade, the guy's not scared. He gets out there and does it. I know he's got to get the okay from guys like Loomis and, of course, other people above him. But, listen, I know that the Eric Gordon signing was trashed around here. Obviously, the Omar Ashik signing was trashed. There's been a few of those. But I think for the most part, this guy, when he needs to pull players in, like he got Mirotic right away. And I watched your broadcast after they got him. You were excited because you thought they might even be able to get Greg Monroe. He ended up picking the Celtics. But I hate to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, but my goodness, watching the game last night, they need a Greg Monroe type. Yeah, they brought Mackel Okafor, and I'm like, I forgot he was even still playing basketball. The guy still sets a mean pick, and he set a couple last night that he knocked a few people out, but you just don't have the force down low to actually compete with big teams like Utah.
Right, and that's the thing. Utah has a lot of size and a lot of length. Last week, Sacramento threw Zebo in even Kosta Koufos had 17 rebounds.
Yes.
Davis needs...
Kosta Koufos looked like a Hall of Famer.
It's true.
Like, what are you doing
I couldn't
here?
believe it. But I think Dell has always recognized that. That's why he brought in guys like Greg Steamsma. That's why he traded for Ashik. Now, doubling down on Ashik was a horrific mistake.
Right.
But he realizes Davis is not that bear.
That's why he did it, to be honest.
Well,
right.
Davis
you
needs...
have to have some meat.
Right. He needs somebody down low so he can operate in the role that he is perfectly suited for. And so when Davis has to play center, that's when the Pelicans have historically struggled. I know last year they had a little run of success when they played Davis at the 5 and tried to put some shooters around him, but I don't think that's sustainable, and that's certainly not going to cut it in the playoffs. And to me, that's the big concern. I think the Pelicans are going to get it in the playoffs. I think Mirotic is a good player. I think Davis is obviously a great player. Drew Holiday's having a really nice season. I think they've got enough, especially considering the bottom of the Western Conference this year isn't as talented. I don't know if the Clippers are going to get back into it.
The Jazz have won 6 in a row.
They have, and they could get back into it. But
Yeah.
I still think the Pelicans could get in. I just don't see how they could beat anybody.
How can you improve this defense? They seem like they give up career highs to a lot of teams and a lot of players. Rodney Hood looked like Phil Chenier. I know I'm dating myself. Back when we used to watch the Washington Bullets. The dude was filling it up from everywhere, 30 points. They were 10 of 11 from three-point line. I was there watching it. I'm just like, that's the first half. I know they ended up 14 to 21, I believe. That's still 67%. What is wrong with the defense?
Well, I don't know. I mean, all season long. I mean, the Pelicans have been the magic elixir for whatever is ailing any team's offense. I mean, earlier this year against Minnesota, I believe, they gave up the most points in the NBA in 2 years when it was 146. Teams feast on and the crazy thing is they went from being a team that struggled offensively last year in this top 10 defense.
It's actually more fun to watch this year.
Right. They are, especially with Cousins and Davis, they were an offensive juggernaut. They were in the top 3 with Houston and Golden State, but defensively they're now in the bottom 2. So I don't know what the fix is. I'm not sure. You know, Rondo was supposed to still have some defensive gas left in the tank, so to say, and it can't just all be on Solomon Hill's not here. Solomon Hill wasn't the most elite wing defender in the league. He's a good defender, but you don't go from 9 to 30 because one guy is out. So what is it? Look, they've made a lot of missteps, and you referenced Dell Dempson. I'm glad you did. I think every move Dell has made, you look at on paper and you say, hey, solid. Like, I can see
I understood why he was doing it. Me too.
Let me say this. I didn't understand doubling down on Ashik. That's one of the things.
Well, I actually did because they had to have me. I don't like the move, but he looked at the free agent pool and he was like, I just think if he had gotten him for $7 or $8 million, there would be no argument. Everybody would have paid that. Yeah. But he had to overpay to keep him there, and he paid like $10.5 to $11 million.
Yeah, I always look at this and look, we could probably talk about that for 30 minutes, and I know time is tight here.
Yeah, because we got
other
things.
They signed Eric Gordon when Eric Gordon said, I don't want to be here. It was a huge mistake, and it's a dark cloud over his tenure here. Ashik is too, because there were much cheaper options. You didn't even let him test the market. You just went all in on a guy where there were, I agree, you needed some beef down low.
You had to have it.
But guys like Kevin Seraphin, there were guys out there that you could have gone and gotten Jason Smith back, who went to the Wizards, and played him there for a year as a stopgap.
Didn't think I'd wake up to hear a Kevin Seraphin reference on the show, but I like it. I like it a lot. That's what you get from Fletcher. Going forward, Boogie Cousins, what are your thoughts about him staying or not staying next season?
Look, I'll say this. I think the Pelicans are going to pivot and go in a much different direction.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
Let me just say this. And I think it's probably about time. Look, they've lacked vision. And while Dell, as I just said, you've seen what he wanted to do. The vision may have been, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but it hasn't come to fruition. And I know that the Pelicans were close last year of pulling the plug on Demps and Gentry. I think that they are going to pull the plug and go in a different direction, and they are going to let a new general manager, when April comes around, barring some miracle win in the first round, which I can't see happening, if they miss the playoffs or if they go out quickly in the playoffs, I think they'll move on from Dell Demps. They'll have to move on from Alvin Gentry, even though I think that's probably a bit unfair because the new general manager will have to hire a new coach, and that new hierarchy will decide the fate of DeMarcus Cousins. So to me, it's a 3-tier answer. A new general manager will hire a new coach, and those two will decide, what do we want to do with Cousins? Do we want to overpay and maybe keep him and hope he comes back? Do we want to go in a different direction? Again, that's a big decision. I'm not sure what you do. This is an organization that overpaid Ashik, that overpaid Drew Holiday, that has a history of overpaying guys. They could certainly overpay DeMarcus Cousins and hope he comes back, or a new hierarchy could say, you know what, we're not going to go down that path. If he doesn't want to take a 1-year prove-it deal to come back and show he's healthy, well, then maybe we go in a different direction. I would say the best situation would be if he would take a 1-year prove-it deal to come back healthy and hit free agency again in 2019, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't want to sound morose, but my immediate thought, because I was of age, I was a teenager, a young teenager, but when Pistol Pete had the injury against the Buffalo Braves, they were on the way to the playoffs, and sure enough, it was a year and a half later, they were out of New Orleans. And I'm like, as a kid who went to all but 2 home games in 5 years, that stung me. And I don't think they're going to be gone in 18 months from New Orleans this time, but the Boogie injury, and he's not even their best player, but still, he was having the best season of anybody out there. Do you foresee any chance that this team's not going to be in New Orleans in the near future?
No.
Ever? What about 10 years from now?
Let me say this. We start talking 10 or 15 years down the road. That's a long way to go. I would say that the Pelicans are here, and the NBA is here. And here's why I say that. The Bensons are smart business people, and the people that work for them, like Dennis Lauscha and Mickey Loomis, are smart business people. That's a tremendous asset. Basketball is on the rise. Football is on the decline right now. They bought that team for $340 million. Forbes valued it last year at $600 million. Again, the NBA is on the rise. Just from a business perspective, if you have an asset that has appreciated $300 or $400 million in 5 years, and the league is going on a trajectory that is upward, there's nothing, why would you get rid of that asset? Why would you sell that asset? Why would you not want to be a part of that asset? So to me, the NBA is stable here. Plus, they have an airtight lease through 2024. Now, once we start getting close to the end of that lease, upgrades to the arena, there are going to be other teams or cities that potentially want to try to make a move. I think the NBA is here and is going to be here because it's too good of a business venture for the Bensons in their hierarchy not to be a part of it. I think they know that.
That's the best thing I've heard all day, and I appreciate that. Because I'm an NBA fan, and I love it.
And I know we're running out of time. Let me just say this, though. If the NBA expands, which I hope they do, once Seattle gets a team, and maybe Louisville, which I think are the leading contenders for expansion, well, then really
Kansas City's in the running.
Kansas City, maybe. They're saturated, though, with everything there. So I think that once they get expansion, Seattle and Louisville, then this team is really secure.
All right, let's switch gears. One league that's not doing as well as it has in the past is the NFL for various reasons, some political, some otherwise. But the Super Bowls have been home runs lately.
Yeah.
They have had some great ones, and this one on Sunday was no exception. What are your thoughts about the game?
Yeah, it was a great game. Look, I have friends that live in Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia as a city. So do I. Yeah. And so I'm glad they won. I think Nick Foles is a great story. It was a great game. 100 million people watched it. So to me, look, and when I say the NFL is on the decline, let me preface that by saying, it's always going to be, right. It's still the number one, and it is still bigger and better than everybody else. But 20 years from now, it like I said, it's still going to be a very relevant sport. But I could see basketball eventually passing up football.
You saw in this game, though, people, 8-point game. People think Philly led most of it. But people forget, not only did New England take the lead, but Philadelphia went for it on 4th and 1, and on their own side of the field, game over, in my opinion, if they don't make it. Doug Peterson has impressed me with some, dare I say, ballsy calls this entire season. In the Super Bowl, he just magnified it, tripled it.
Yeah, Doug Peterson now goes down with Sean Payton as maybe the gutsiest call and the gutsiest play caller in Super Bowl history. Sean Payton with the ambush onside kick, and then obviously the trick play to Nick Foles on 4th down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Boise State style.
Right, that is just that is as gutsy a call
right.
in the Super Bowl is Sean Payton with an onside kick to open the second half. So look, I love Doug Peterson. I think the Eagles are a team on the rise, and they're going to be there for a while.
Yeah, they're good.
But yeah, it was a great game. I loved watching it. I'm happy for Philadelphia. And I can't say enough. Nothing against New England, but they've been there, done that. And they seem to have a lot going on under the surface with Brady and Belichick and Kraft and Butler. They seem to be fractured a little bit.
Next question, Malcolm Butler. Did 98% of the snaps, I believe, play this year, at least 90. And he gets in the game none except for maybe one play, and that's on special teams. Is there any chance that he might be coming to New Orleans?
Oh, yeah, I think there's a really good chance. I mean, look, last year the Saints were very close to trading in acquiring him. Obviously, the Saints like him. I certainly think Marshawn Lattimore alleviates a lot of pressure. But look, Ken Crawley is solid but not spectacular.
Right.
Delvin Breaux's injury history, you just don't know. I mean, I could certainly see Malcolm Butler and Marshawn Lattimore,
wow.
and that would be a tremendous combination. So I think the Saints are going to pursue him in free agency. They pursued him last year via trade. I can't imagine anything has tarnished what they saw. Look, not playing in the Super Bowl is not a good look, but I certainly think you look at his body of work and you say he is a legitimate starting cornerback in the NFL.
It was telling the multitude of cameras that were on, obviously, at every Super Bowl, and they caught him tearing up before the game during the national anthem. I was like, wow, what is going on here? Speaking of other free agents, any chance a guy named Jimmy Graham might come back?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that relationship is a little bit, I just used fractured.
Yeah,
I just don't think so. I think they'll be, and I don't know if he'd want to come back. I don't know if the Saints would want to pay him. So I just think there's going to be other teams. He may be back in Seattle, but if not, I think there'll be better fits in other organizations that he looks at before he comes here. And I'm not sure the Saints would be interested in having him back, to be honest with you.
What do you think the Saints should do in the offseason?
Wow, that's a good question. Defensive end. That is my biggest need right now. I liked what Okafor brought last year, but I still think they've been piecemealing it together for too many years. Get that bookend opposite Cam Jordan. That's my number one.
Is there a guy in the draft, or you think they should go free agency there?
Well, I think you could go either. I would love to see them draft a guy that they could say, hey, this is maybe our guy that we like, and go for, a player in the draft at defensive end.
Okay, here's my question then.
Yeah.
Because Vaccaro will probably not be re-signed, I imagine.
Yeah.
They have two pretty good safeties already. So would you spend your money on, if you want to get a $10 million player, would you spend it on the defensive end, or would you get a lockdown guy like Malcolm Butler, who probably will be a little cheaper this year than he was last year? But my fact is, where would you rather spend it?
Yeah, I'd rather spend the money at cornerback. I think that there's going to be better worth at that position. If you get Malcolm Butler in free agency and then go into the draft and beef up your defensive line even more, I think Sheldon Rankins is a burgeoning star. Tyler Davison had a really unsung season. David Onyemata has come along well. Trey Hendrickson showed something. You've got a group there, and then you have Cam Jordan, who's one of the best defenders in the league. Add a true starting defensive end, and you've got some really nice pieces for Dennis Allen to continue working with. So if it was me, and it's just my opinion, I'd spend my money on Butler in free agency and go into the draft and add a linebacker or a defensive end.
In the way too early draft, just give me the guy right now, February 6th, that you would take if he's around at 27.
You know,
something quick.
I did maybe Rasheem Green from USC, because he reminds me a lot of Cam Jordan coming out of Cal.
Wow. All right, I like it.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews is my call about a
tight
month
end?
ago.
Yeah, out of
from Oklahoma. I did a lot of Oklahoma games. The dude is fast. I'm not saying he's Gronk, but he is Gronk Jr.
Yeah.
The guy can play. Here's a little gift certificate as a thank you. Shays Delachaize, I know you know where that is.
Yeah. I've
Fletcher.
been because of you.
Yes, and you know Evan.
Yeah.
I know you know Evan. He always talks. He says, yeah, where's Fletcher? Hey, all right, I appreciate you. By the way, Fletcher's brother is in Korea right now for the Olympics. He just went to the demilitarized zone in North Korea. If you watch 60 Minutes, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but scary stuff. But anyway, appreciate all that both of you Mackels do for the city.
My brother and my wife are there.
And your wife as well.
Yeah, she's a photographer.
Photographer, that's right. Prayers to them. All right. I want to thank them. Also, obviously, we had Travis Jewett on earlier, but we're going to the other side of town, to the lakefront. We're going to have Blake Dean coming up next right here to talk about the UNO Privateer baseball team this year, right here on Primetime Sports.
She had to go simply because, and I let her go like she never was. She had to go because she didn't know who Scott Alexander was. You ought to go see the Mardi Gras. If you go to New Orleans.
That's our man, Professor Longhair, local legend. And of course, that is Go to the Mardi Gras. We're only a week away. Hey, it's Mardi Gras right now for me because baseball season is beginning next weekend, right after Mardi Gras is over, and I cannot wait for that. We had Travis Jewett from Tulane on earlier. Of course, you just heard from Travers. What am I talking about? He's in Korea. Fletcher Mackel, who we talked about the Pels, a little bit about the Saints, etc. But right now we're back to baseball, and it's the UNO Privateers, a very rich history. And do I need to remind you, that's the first team from Louisiana back in 1984 that made it to a World Series, a College World Series in Omaha. And, of course, that team did it under the head coach, Ron Maestri, who, by the way, my next guest was an assistant for Ron Maestri for 2 years before becoming the head coach. So he said 5 years on the lakefront, 3 as the head man, and his name is Blake Dean, the former LSU star and now UNO head coach, and third-time appearance on Primetime Sports, second time in this particular studio. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me.
What's going on? I mean, you're in your third year. What's happening with Blake Dean?
Well, I'm getting ready for the season. I actually speaking of Mardi Gras, I rode in a parade, rode in Caesar this past Sunday. So I always enjoy that. It's a good time. But focusing the attention over to baseball now, getting ready for the season.
Funny, I'll bring that up since you said it. I didn't know you were riding in the parade on Sunday, and Sunday is usually kind of when I'm preparing for the show, getting everything ready, and I'm like, hey, what guys do you think you might want to talk about? You gave me a little bit of a list, and then I asked another question, and you're like, hey, man, I'm riding in the parade right now. Can I catch you tomorrow? I was like, dude, why'd you even answer the first one?
I hear you. Well, it was supposed to be Saturday. It got rained down and moved to Sunday, and I missed the entire Super Bowl. So it was at 5:30. So I missed the Super Bowl. Which
You actually missed a good one, though.
I heard. I heard.
And by the way, we just talked about it with Fletcher. Hey, real quick, going into this season as opposed to going into the last season, I knew you had that tremendous first year. Everybody was shocked. UNO came back from the dead. Last year, the record wasn't as good, but the competition, I believe, was tougher. Talk about that transition last year going and then and kind of parlay it in what's happening this year.
Well, like I said, last year we had a tough schedule. We had back-to-back 31 seasons, first time in 10 years.
Amazing.
So and I think that's for us in college baseball in general is a new benchmark. If you can win 30 games every year, that's pretty good. It means you're probably going to have a winning record.
And to do it at UNO, who's kind of been down for a long time, this is a rich program, that's truly a remarkable feat.
That's what I tell people. I feel like what we did in the first 2 years was pretty phenomenal, to be honest with you. And we're finally getting to where we can get recruits. We're getting to the point to where there's more kids interested. We've caught up recruiting somewhat. We're still a little bit behind, but it happens so far ahead of time now that we're finally catching up and getting some good players.
I remember when you got the job, I remember talking to you about, I think that's back when I was in the radio, and we were talking about who you bringing in, and you said, well, first of all, I'm bringing my brother, Dakota. And I'm like, does he have a choice in that? He goes, no, not if he wants to continue to be my brother. He was tremendous for you for those first 2 years you coached.
He was. I mean, he really was. He was the foundation of what that team has become now. He came in. He could have gone other schools. He played at LSU for a year and won a national championship at a junior college. So he had options, and trust me, UNO probably wasn't his number one choice. But the blood ran thick in that one, so it was a big help.
Blood ran thick in that one. But talk about, you just saw a picture there of Paul Maneri. Obviously, you played for Paul, 2009 national champion. I know we've talked about this before, but what's it meant to have him as well as Ron Maestri, two legends of coaching here in South Louisiana, as your mentors?
It's big. When I came in, I was wet behind the ears. That's no hidden secret. I didn't know everything. I didn't claim to know everything. I still don't know everything. So I use Coach Maneri pretty regularly to call him, ask him for advice. My first game as a head coach, I've never done an umpires meeting before.
Right.
So
something simple, but it's
you don't want to embarrass yourself. Right. So I called him and he walked me through step by step how to do the umpires meeting, and it was pretty comical. But at the end of the day,
he's showing you right there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You talk to this guy first, you hand the card over here, and you're just like, yep.
I was lost. But those guys and Coach Maestri as well, they've helped me out a lot. They're great mentors. And Coach Maestri, he can't get away from the baseball field. He's there all the time.
He's the godfather.
He is.
I mean, what a great dude to have around, though.
He is.
Does he look over your shoulder? What does he do?
He really doesn't. I mean, to be honest with you, he lets me do what I want to do, gives me my freedom. But, I always ask him for advice because you can tell he loves it. He's passionate about it. And, again, New Orleans means the world to him, so I want to make him feel welcomed and involved as much as I possibly can.
You're entrenched now in New Orleans. I mean, you're a North Florida guy, Panhandle guy. You went to LSU. But, you've been here 5 full years. What's your take on the city of New Orleans?
I love it. I mean, the one thing I can't get away from is the food. I'm having I gain weight, I lose weight. I gain weight, I lose it. So I'm having to watch myself with the food.
Trust me, I know.
But I do. I love it. I love the culture. I love the people. It's a great city. And, I actually bought a house out in Eden Isle, so I moved out of the city a little bit. So I love everything so far and hope to be here for a while.
It's Slidell, right?
It is, right over there.
Yeah, you're right over there. That's not far.
No, 20 minutes from the field ain't bad at all.
Yeah, exactly, because you're right over there to UNO, so that's close. Shoot, a lot of people live in like Mandeville and stuff.
Yeah.
They'd be a little further. Speaking of passion and excitement, one guy coming back, and I got to bring him up first, the Lafayette kid, Oren Veillon, who, by the way, hit 15 homers last year. It's not like the Gorilla Ball home run. This is an era of 15 home runs means something.
It is. I mean, he was an unbelievable hitter. I actually hit him in the 9 hole and he hit 15 home runs.
Wow.
So that's even more impressive. The one knock was he punched out 62 times and only walked 8 last year.
Right.
So if he can just
he's swinging.
He's going for all of it, all the marbles. But if he could just get those walks up and become a little more consistent, he'll probably make a lot of money in the draft this year.
Where are you batting him this year in your mind? I mean, you lost some players.
Yeah, I'm probably going to hit him between that 5 to 7 range, somewhere right around there. I'd probably say 5 or 6 where he'll probably fit this year.
You got 3 guys, and this is impressive because this is a big league, the Southern Conference. I mean, 3 guys made all-conference preseason, and one of them obviously made the preseason player of the year. What is it, John Cable?
Well, that's the pitcher. The pitcher would be Brian
Warzak. Brian Warzak, yeah.
So he's a New Yorker kid, came in as a freshman. This will be his junior year. Came in at 86, 88. He's 90, 93. Probably hit a couple of 94, 95s this year. And he's the real deal. So a New Yorker came down to New Orleans, kind of fell in love with the place, and he's got a chance to be a top 10 rounder this year.
At Media Day, he was impressive. I was just sitting there, and he gives you the eye contact, things you look for. You tell your kids to do when they're talking to adults. And somebody has coached him because he's a pretty impressive interview.
Yeah, I mean, he does a good job. We obviously don't have the coaching that LSU has because those guys are on camera every day up there.
Right.
But we try to prep these guys and get them ready to to go out in the community and talk to people and do community service as well. So he's done a good job. He's still a little wet behind the ears, but he's definitely matured on the mound.
Now, how does he go from high 80s to up to 93 miles an hour? How do you improve that on a guy's fastball?
I tell people there is no secret recipe. You work hard, you lift, you get stronger, you physically mature, and you just try to stay healthy. And he's done all those things. I mean, he has the arm, he has the body, and like I said, he's become a top pitcher in our conference.
And he's your ace for sure. Before I get to the rest of the pitching staff, I got to talk about John Cable because it's another preseason All-Southland player. What makes him special behind the plate?
He's a leader. I mean, a guy came in from a junior college in Georgia. He's a country boy. He's one of those guys that seems like he's not very smart, but he can do a Rubik's Cube in about 35 seconds.
Smart.
So he's sneaky smart. Exactly. But he's hurt. He actually hurt himself in summer ball, tore his hamstring. It's a pretty substantial injury, out 8 months. So we're trying to get him back in time. I don't know if he'll be ready, but he's definitely a big part of our lineup, 3-4 hole hitter for us.
Well, it's nice that you just signed a guy in case he's not there right away. Bo Bratton's not bad.
Yeah, he is. Good player. We literally got Bo from Mississippi Gulf Coast probably 2 or 3 days before school started. We were scrambling to get him in. Good player. He's young behind the dish. He's only a sophomore. Lefty hitter, can really hit as well. So I think he'll get some good experience this year and help John out.
Well, you said that John was a country boy. This guy seems to love the country too, because every picture I could find, he's either hunting or fishing or enjoying, and he's obviously a Saints fan as well. So I like the combination with this young man.
Heck yeah, he all he does is duck hunt. I told him you needed less duck hunting, more baseball, but he does. He loves the outdoors.
Hey, you got nice connections to the Catholic League. I just had Travis Jewett. We talked about some of his players. There's great baseball beyond the Catholic League and obviously in New Orleans and the rest of Louisiana, but you have a couple guys, and Owen McGee being one of them, and obviously shortstop as well, guys that from Brother Martin and Rummel, just like I was talking about Tulane. Yeah,
we are. We're getting some of those guys. We've been picky the past couple years about who we get from those teams. But like you said, Owen McGee, he was a great hitter for us last year.
And that's him at Brother Martin.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
He played with Greg Dykeman, actually.
Correct. Right? Yeah, Greg actually comes out and hits in the field sometimes. So I like to see those guys kind of go back and forth.
Dykeman on the left right there, right?
Yeah, big. He's physical, big boy as well. But he is. He can hit. But Owen's done great. Darren Willis is short this year. He'll be a sophomore. And so I think those guys, like I said, we had Cody Ducote transfer down from LSU, another Brother Martin kid. As well.
Yeah, there's Darren Willis right there with Kenny Trahan being interviewed. What makes him special at shortstop?
I'll tell you what, he's so quick. He's very quick. We're working on his offense, trying to get his bat a little bit better, but his range and his quickness and the sure glove is what's got him there, and hopefully it'll keep him there, and he'll figure the hitting out as we go.
Well, one guy who's figured it out, he's been there the entire time, is Jay Robinson. He seems like he's been around since maybe the Bush administration. He's been around for quite a while at UNO. Only 4-year guy, if I'm not mistaken, on this team.
He is. He's been here for 4 years. He came in right when I was the volunteer, and he's been here for the rest of the time. And he's been through the rough times, 13 wins, 14 wins. Then he finally got some 30-win seasons under his belt. So he's had some up and down injury-wise, but he should be ready to go this year.
You can't win with just one pitcher. I know you like to throw Warzak every game,
yeah, I wish.
But you have to have other guys. Who are some of those other guys you hope step up?
Well, we have Eric Orsi, transfer. He's from Northwest Florida. Probably be our Saturday guy. He's a 4-pitch mix guy, upper 80s, low 90 guy, can throw a little bit of everything, different arm slots. He'll be our Saturday guy. Sunday guy is kind of up in the air right now. We signed 21 pitchers. We have 21 pitchers. So we're trying to figure out where everyone fits. But we got some good guys with Reeves Martin as well.
Martin, yeah.
Yeah, he's another one of our guys that he was in the bullpen last year. I think he's doing 36 games last year as a freshman.
Right.
So we may transition him over into that Sunday role, but we're just trying to figure out right now where we think he belongs.
What about Chris DeMayo? He got a shot?
DeMayo will definitely be a guy for us. He's
late inning guy.
Yeah, probably 7th through 9th inning guy. Got a great breaking ball, almost unhittable to be completely honest with you. Loses control of the zone time to time, but we call him the Binky Buzzard. And you see his picture; he's really skinny, and it looks like the cartoon character. So that's kind of his nickname.
The Binky Buzzard?
Yeah, the Binky Buzzard.
Buzzard, okay, I like it a lot. The Binky Buzzard, that's kind of a cool name. Hey, real quick, talk about your schedule starting the season, when people can come see UNO, when are they at Maestri Field? I'm going to call it a Privateer Park, because I just remember those old days. Who do you got coming in?
We open up the 16th. Obviously, we're playing in that Andre Dawson Classic this year. He's coming in. It used to be the Urban Invitational. Now they've changed the name. We'll open up with Illinois Chicago at our place. Go to play over there Saturday, Alabama State. Then we come back and play Southern at our place on Sunday. So that's opening weekend for us. And the next 2 weekends we'll be at home. We got a tournament. We got Ball State, Iowa, and Virginia Tech coming to the lakefront. And then Arkansas State for the third weekend.
Well, I'm a baseball nut. I go to a lot of college games, so you'll see me there. I'll try not to bug you too much, but I appreciate you. I've got something that I think you'll like. A gift certificate to a place that it's not over by the lakefront, but it's uptown.
That's
between
all right.
Carrollton and Broadway, kind of by the river bend. It's called Shays de la Shays. Our good friend Evan Hayes owns that, so hopefully you'll be able to check it out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Blake Dean, his third time here on Primetime Sports. We're only 2 years old. This is our 101st show. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Fletcher Mackel. Man, we had some good Pels talk. A little Super Bowl and Saints, of course, as well. And then, of course, our first guest, Travis Jewett. Hey, we're going to continue the baseball theme, Mardi Gras. I'm bringing Matt Reiser, the former Tulane star who's killing it at Southeastern. We're going to bring Seth Thibodeau in from Nichols. And, of course, we're going to get the LSU contingent, not just doing Maneri. We're going to do Alan Dunn as well. We're going to have some fun. Stay tuned for all that, and we're also going to wrap up National Signing Day next week. So we'll have all that for you on Mardi Gras night. Yes, we are working on Mardi Gras, so we can't wait for that. Hey, I want to thank everybody here at CST and WLAE. Our president of WLAE, Ron Yeager, just to get paid us a visit. I want to thank him and Jim Dotson. Of course, my producer, Will Hill. Hey, Naila, the Redhead Tsunami, and everybody else that does so much for us here on Primetime Sports. Thank you, and happy Mardi Gras. Have a good Carnival season. We'll see you next week.